Thank you, Judy. Good morning again, Unity South Twin Cities family. Good morning. Those of us in the sanctuary and virtually. Again, for those that don't know me, my name is Yvette Trotman, and it is good to be with you again. For those of you who I have not met, I have been a member of Unity South for over 40 years and currently serve as one of the prayer chaplains. My family, John, Duval, and I bring you greetings for the holidays. I thank Reverend Stacy for the honor of having a conversation with you today about reclaiming our joy. Following my excitement about the opportunity, reality set in very quickly. Joy in December. Wait a minute, I thought. This is not going to be easy for me. As it happens, December is a month filled with a lot of sorrow and joy. However, the first time I decided this was an opportunity for me to catalog this and really speak to both the sorrow and joy that I have experienced in the month of December. It started when I was 6 years old. I woke up on Christmas morning to the most exciting Christmas gift someone my age can ever have: the birth of my very own Jesus. My brother Noel was born that morning. Unfortunately, this excitement was short lived when Noel died that evening in my arms. This trauma was a devastating experience that took till my adult life to overcome, and I still don't think it's overcome, especially when just 5 years prior I had lost my dad. These December memories connect me to the intersection of joy and sorrow. When years later, on December 5th, I lost my mother-in-law. And in December 6th, many years later, 3 years ago, I had the catalyst of racial injustice at the hands of my employer, which led me to being fired, which I dub as the moment I became a queen. On December 7th, again many years ago, my mother died. On December 18th was when my dad had a stroke and he never recovered. But thanks to my husband, he shifted all that sorrow to joy. On December 21st is when we will celebrate our wedding anniversary. And we got engaged on December 24th, many years ago. We were all born with joy. It is an inherent part of who we are, our divine birthright. And somewhere along our journey, we are robbed of it. I am well aware it has not escaped me. And this is the time of year that brings a complex paradox of emotions. I want to celebrate, I don't want to celebrate. I want to buy gifts, I don't want to buy gifts. I want lights, I don't want lights. The season's joys float above undercurrents of this sadness, ranging from mild melancholy to outright grief and despair. The current situation addressing the virus does not make it any easier for any of us. To begin with, the holidays, it's a powerful trigger for those of us who have suffered deep loss, and some of us may still be in the throes of bereavement. Please accept my love and understanding as you navigate this difficult period and celebrate the memories of your loved ones. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Psalms 23:4 tells us, you are walking through the valley. This represents sorrow, depression, or grief in order to reclaim your joy. Note the operative word here is through, not fly over or pitch a tent or dwell in. Khalil Gibran, in The Prophet, wrote about joy and sorrow, and I quote, then a woman said, speak to us of joy and sorrow. And he answered, your joy is your sorrow unmasked, and the self-same well from which your laughter rises were oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it. It is only that which has given you sorrow that is giving you joy. When you're sorrowful, look again into your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping forth at which has been your delight. Some of you say, joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nay, sorrow is greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. James 1:2 tells us, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of any kind, consider it nothing but joy. Back in the days, Emily Cady wrote Lessons in Truth, one of the foundation teachings of unity. Mindfulness was not in vogue at the time, but she was a visionary, and she spoke of spiritual understanding, which in fact is mindfulness, a spiritual birth, a revelation of God within the heart of man. This is a form of hypnotism or mind cure, she says. But until down in the depth of your being, you're conscious of your oneness with the Father, until you know within yourself that the spring of all wisdom and health and joy is within your own being, ready at any moment to leap forth at the call of your need, you will not have spiritual understanding. What my unity experience taught me over time was it is my divine birthright to reclaim my joy, as learned in Emily Cady's Lessons in Truth, the first class I took at Unity, and has now taken it 4 times. She states further, each man must sooner or later learn to stand with God. Nothing else avails. Nothing else will ever make you master of your own destiny. There is in your own indwelling Lord all the life and health, all the strength and peace and joy, all the wisdom and support that you can ever need or desire. No one can give it to you as can this indwelling Father. He is the spring of all joy, of all comfort and power. All joy, strength, and good spring from a fountain within us. And if we know the truth, if we only know the truth, we should know that because God is in us, the fountain of which spring all are good. Nothing that anyone says, nothing that anyone fails to do, nothing can take away your joy. Also, do not believe that any person, anything, any circumstance can limit your joy. However, many of us here today have some little secret or thought that has limited our joy, right? Someone. Well, I am no different. I will tell you, I will let you in on a secret about the decision I took many years ago to reclaim my joy. It is my purple story, and no accident that I'm wearing purple. Purple was my favorite color as a child and still is my favorite color today. My grandmother, who made my clothes as a child, would let me choose my fabric. I always gravitated to purple. And my mother will always intervene and said, "Oh, you cannot wear that color." Notice she didn't even call the color by name. This puzzled me for many years and robbed me of my joy. Finally, as a teenager, I asked my mother why I could not wear purple. And she said, "That used to be my favorite color. However, when my brother died, which was her only sibling, and when my father died, her first husband, she was wearing purple. And she felt that if I wore purple, I would kill her." Well, what child wants to live with that burden? So I gave it up, even though it gnawed at me whenever I saw a purple outfit or a purple hat or anything purple. Years later, as a married woman living here in Minnesota, and my mother at the time was living in Florida, I was shopping downtown at what used to be Dayton's one day and saw this amazing purple dress that I had to have. I prayed about it for a long time. Little did I know I was reclaiming my joy. I bought the dress quietly, hid it at home, and I told John my plan. I said, "I'm going to wear this dress for a month and not say a word to my mother about it, not mention it to my siblings. And I would check in with my mom like I normally did." After a month, she was still alive. Months later, I shared that story with my mom. She was shocked, and I was filled with joy. Fast forward with my relationship with my mother, I eventually got her to wear purple. I am so purple infused that the walls of my house are painted lavender, thanks to Russell. When my mother finally visited my house after my purple and completely purpled, she gasped and she didn't think she could live there or sleep there, which she did. Or discovery of the power of prayer, which is what I use to get me through this experience, is often awakened by a crisis or a need to resolve a difficulty. Remember, I said it was that deep secret. You have something that you can reclaim your joy, something that was told to you that you couldn't do, that's gnawing at you. That discovery of prayer is often awakened by a crisis. Since prayer is a thought, I realized that I had been praying for this opportunity to ignite my joy since I was a child. Now that I'm a chaplain, I'm aware of prayer as a gateway to joy, which is why I'm sharing my story with you. Like our physical muscles, if you don't use it, you will lose it. When we practice prayer regularly, when we are mindful of our thoughts, we begin to live in awareness of God at all times. It is akin to building spiritual muscle. So prayer has to be a regular practice. Our thoughts, the mindfulness of our thoughts, is a regular practice. I wrote a poem, which is a new one of a newly found gift in the last 2 years. You don't eat today for the rest of the year. You eat daily for growth and repair. It's the same thing with the daily practice of prayer. When you give time to meditation and pray every day, you will find it easier and easier to stay in the center of God's presence and power. This constant realization of the indwelling spirit is prayer without ceasing. Unity's spiritual foundation is what gives you life, purpose, and meaning. In your search for meanings and purposes, do not lose sight of joy. The joy of being is within you, unquenchable. Joy is the unexpected, often the surprising discovery of anyone who lives close to God, who makes every thought, every act, every breath a prayer to God. If you have any feeling that your life is without meaning or purpose, ask for light. Ask for a revelation of God's presence through prayer. Ask for Christ to come into your consciousness. In the asking, you will find not only light, but also joy. Pure joy that glorifies and transforms your life. Prayer, especially group prayer, is at the center of the unity movement. Our founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore's eyes were opened by their belief in the power of prayer, which is our foundation. You could not find a better affirmation to express joy than this famous one by Charles Fillmore, commonly used by our dearly departed Unity South spiritual leader, Marlene Corley. I will say it, and then I'm going to ask you to say it with me. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. Together, I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. Thank you. Affirmation are also prayers that are positive and orderly statements of truth, which when we use, we claim as ours. In our very own resident author, Gerald Evans's book, Words to the Wise, two of his affirmations about joy are, choose to be joyous today, and joy shared is doubled. Thank you, Gerald. You cannot predict your circumstances. You cannot know your future, but you can choose your response to what each day brings into your life. Applying prayer to any situation is especially effective when we establish sound prayer habits. You can choose to engage in the practice of prayer for the purpose of discovering God. The more we engage in prayer, the deeper our prayer becomes, and the more profound effect it has on our life and our spiritual growth. As we prepare for Christmas, for the Christmas spirit, I invite you to take note of the Fillmore's emphasis on the importance of prayer with a joy-filled heart. God is a God of joy. Charles is quoted as saying, when we pray joyfully, we connect fully with the zest and true purpose of living. We ignite and reclaim our joy by awakening new trains of thought and unleash powerful healing forces. Psalms 47:1 tells us, clap your hands, all you people, shout to God with loud songs of joy. Friends, family, safely enjoy your friends and family and make this a Christmas to remember as you ignite and reclaim your joy through the practice of mindfulness and prayer. Thank you for this opportunity. We'll now have special music.